here. So you're being recorded. This will be used against you in a sex scandal someday.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing that can happen at this point that I wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, man. Fuck. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me on here. This will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Welcome. I'm Colin, and welcome to Ween Talk guest number 1, the best guest we've ever had, the first guest we've ever had, maybe the last guest I ever had. But yeah, man, cool. Thanks for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah, man. And you're in Colorado, right?
I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
You lived there for a while?
Yeah, my whole life.
Oh shit. So you were at the reunion then, right?
Which one? Yeah, when they came back in February so many years ago. Yes.
Yeah, it was like 3 nights. Was it 4 nights or 3 nights? I can't remember.
It was 3 nights. That was a great run. Yeah, when they started out with what Jenner was talking about, man, I was like halfway tears, halfway just happy to have them back. That was a long stretch without it, and not having concerts to look forward to, shows and friends you're going to see was a bad stretch.
It was a bad stretch, and I actually flew down for that. I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and I flew down for that. And like I say, the only show that I saw before that was the Meltdown show here in Vancouver. That was my first show. And so it was it was a bit of a fucking bummer. And I did a whole episode about that. But then I went down for the reunion, and night one, like you say, what Diener was talking about. I think they're just like, I'm Gene, he's Dean or whatever. And then they just jumped into it. And then they closed that night. I don't know if you remember, with Buenos Tardes. And
yes,
I was like, obviously that was my second show, and I did not think that song could be that good. And like, I liked it. I thought it was funny, but it was fucking epic as shit, man. Like, that was a good.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
The opening for me was epic, because you could just tell that Dean was so excited to be back more than anything. I think he missed it. Maybe, who knows? I'm going out on a limb here, but I think he maybe showed that he missed it the most. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, the finale with Buenos. And there are parts of that show that I don't remember, but we won't dig into that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Well, I'm probably gonna do a whole episode, or if not 3 episodes, on the reunion sometime. So I'll have to get you to chime in there too. So
yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, man.
But that Buenos was amazing, and those two were kind of like the bookends of that. Wow, they're back. They sound great, and of course they could come on and sound like shit, and I still would have thought that they sounded great, but nevertheless.
Yeah, man, I got, like, because it was open seating for the whole upper bowl, right? So that was really fucking cool. You could just walk around, depending, like, closer to the stage, it was pretty crazy. And then farther back, like I think it's a hockey arena there. And like up in the back, you could sit at the back and have like nobody around you. It was really fucking good experience. But like I say, that'd be a whole other episode. But anyways, it's the first guest. I don't really know what I'm doing or what I intend to do, but I'm having a lot of fun doing this channel and doing the show, and people are chiming in. Like, I don't know if you read any of the comments. Like, some people have like shared just some crazy stories, mostly drug related stories in the comments and stuff like that. And like, having traveled to a number of Ween shows, like I've never met like a bad person at a Ween show, and I've never met a remotely uninteresting person. So I was like, fuck, I should talk to some people out there. So yeah, man, how did you get into Ween?
Okay. I got into Ween through a college friend of mine and former roommate. And I always tell people, because usually I'm new Ween fans Genesis, but I always tell people, you'll always remember that I showed you this band, whether you like them or you don't, whatever. It was an old college roommate and friend of mine. He was a music student at Colorado State University, and he just showed me Ween one day. We were rolling hippie dice or something and probably smoking things, and that's how it happened. And then from there, I was so impressed. I think it was Kate Beck that I first listened to the very first time.
Yeah.
And he would just throw on an album, and he just let it wrote out, and it was like amazing, man. It was like I never heard so many different genres of music that were so well produced. And obviously that's one of their later albums, so they're getting good at that point with the production part of it. But it was just unbelievable to me. And since then, I've kind of transferred over from being more of a Fish and a String Cheese kind of guy, because they were local to Colorado, to now like just obviously being obsessed with Ween. It's awesome.
And I will actually say I see like some monitor speakers in the background, like an audio interface and a MIDI keyboard. So you're into music yourself too, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I play the drums, and that's kind of like I'll give you a
Yeah.
little peek, the studio setup there.
Nice.
And I know you mentioned you and some friends play a bunch of Ween,
Yeah.
and my friends and I too. You know, my
Yeah.
best friend through life, and then other college friends of mine who've also just been Ween fans. We get together and jam a lot of Ween. So yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
No, it's like it's funny you mentioned that because like I've had just a couple of bands here in Vancouver, but like, you know, they'll be lifelong friends that I made in a band. And the reason I formed a band was I played a show. I used to do like comedy music and stuff like that. Like
Okay.
I've been doing comedy stuff for years and years and years. And I started to take people started to ask me to open for their bands. And I always like just to make the set a little longer because it was just a bunch of dick jokes and fucking sophomore kind of humor that I was doing. And so I used to put in like the mollusk or bananas in blow, or I used to do object, but I'd speed it up a little bit and play it in 2/4, like a little lamenting folk song. And so these
Yeah.
guys were in this crazy instrumental like Tool band, like they covered Tool and stuff. And they were like these two guys, a drummer and a bass player. They were like, "You're playing some Ween, man. Do you want to jam?" And then I ended up being in a band with those guys for like the last 10 years. And it's like, you know, we've broken up or whatever, but we always get back together. And the first thing that we play is I'll just like we'll plug in the shit and I'll just play the first chords of the mollusk, man. And it's like I think it's a
Yeah.
musician's band for sure. Is what I would say there. So yeah,
They're definitely like an old favorite pair of sneakers, dude. Like they transcend so many genres. They make so many people happy. And
yeah,
then, you know, like you said, when we get together, we all play with different friends. We bounce around musically, but when we all get together, first thing we throw on is, like you said, an object,
yeah,
because one, it's a fairly simple song,
yeah,
and it's our talents, and that's our track for sure. So the
yeah.
Boognish is a catalyst.
Yeah, and if you're like into music production or if you're a musician, like you go from like the pod to fucking
Yeah.
Quebec. That's like if you would have said that like that pod band, those guys would end up sounding like they do on Quebec. Like I'd like kudos to whoever gave those guys a fucking record deal because I like even as wide as your taste could be, if they brought in a demo of fucking Demon Sweat or something and you're working for
Oh,
like Elektra Records, you're like, oh yeah, these guys are going to be fucking great. Like I can't even believe that they got a record deal, and I don't think they'd get one today. Like, you know, they would be playing
I
something.
think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right there about them, you know, being maybe too off of center
yeah,
for like a record company to really take them seriously
yeah,
at this juncture in the music biz. But you know, who knows? Like
yeah,
they're so talented in a way that is hard to put into words, and I guess that's why we use the term brown.
yeah,
Um, you know, they're just you never know what you could get, but you're pretty happy with it every time.
yeah. For sure. And I mean, you know, some people like I did the worst of Ween sort of video, and that was like a bit of a
Yeah,
clickbait thing, right? Because like I'm just trying out the YouTube thing, and it's been a lot of fun. I bought a computer tower this year or built one, and I'm trying to figure out how to do video production and stuff. And obviously, with
sweet.
the circumstances that we won't get into here, there's a lot of free time on my hands, so I you know started sort of
Hmm.
getting in this. But anyways, a lot of people said like, oh, if you're not like if you're not on the right kind of drugs, if you don't like this song or whatever, and like
Right. I think
I
that
don't
was
know.
my comment.
Yeah, that was several people like they're like, man, you
Yeah.
don't like fucking Demon Sweat, you just got to do the right drugs or whatever. But anyways, aside from that, what I was gonna say is like they're definitely influenced with like drugs and stuff like that. But my
Yeah.
afterthought to that is like, had they not been influenced by drugs, like maybe they would have been influenced by like, you know, something else, and they would have been something like, you know, they could have been something like REM or something like that. I think they're that talented that if they wouldn't have made the Ween stuff individually or apart, they would have done something. So I think they're just fucking awesome in general. So.
Well, and to what you're saying there, I think that you know, success is very subjective.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were an incredible influence on Hillenberg and the SpongeBob influence and these
Yeah.
other things that they've been able to accomplish that are mainstream, like the South Park stuff and things of that nature. You know, to me, that's just as much of a feather in a cap as a musician to maybe perhaps the mainstream stuff, the radio stuff, or the
Yeah.
pop scene. So you know, I don't know. The guy's again unique is the only thing that we could say
Yeah.
about him.
And
And you better go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry man. I was just going to say like with regards to radio success, you listen to the stuff that they actually had like in mainstream circulation and play. It's like Voodoo Lady and Push the Little Daisies. Those are arguably their most commercially successful songs. Those are some of
Sure.
the weirder fucking songs that they have like, you know, in
Yeah.
terms in like Push the Little Daisies is a demented song. I mean, I love it, but it's like That was on the
Yeah,
radio.
oh, yeah.
And my
Yeah, and then, isn't that like their highest Billboard hit that they ever had? It got to like third or fourth in Australia. Don't quote me
yeah,
there, but
yeah, no, that's
and
it,
then
man.
the other claim to fame or whatever is like Ocean Man was on a Honda commercial.
Yeah.
It's like super. We hit the big time now.
Yeah, man, got to sell those fucking Hondas. Moving along.
Reliable.
What was your first Ween show?
My first Ween show, pardon me while I
Yeah.
take a sip, was Vegas 2005. I had just graduated college and got in a friend of mine's Impala SS and cruised from Colorado to Las Vegas for the festival. And
Yeah.
they played the second day. Of course, the first day, everyone is balls to the wall at the
Yeah.
festival. And Ween played like a noon set, and it was hotter than fish grease. I was dressed up as a Catholic nun. Other friends of mine were, I think we had an Osama bin Laden, Boy Scout.
Yeah, just the standard costumes for a Ween show.
Standard,
Yeah.
standard Vegas festival. Just graduated college scene being painted, and people huffing glue in taxis. Like really, really wild scene. They opened up with the HIV song and then spinal meningitis, and
Yeah.
I'm just like this.
And
You know, out there.
that's like the classic Ween move when they're playing midday at a festival. It's like they're not like they open with songs like that, and it's like if you're a casual listener, if you've never heard them, like I was at the Paps Festival a few years ago, and they opened with Spinal Meningitis, and like
Yeah.
Mom, am I gonna die? Mom, am I gonna see God? You just saw like a swarm of people just turn around and walk away. They're like, I think they played after was Ice Cube or something like that. I can't remember who they played after, but it was fucking bizarre. But I love that they're just like, no, this is what we are. This is what we're gonna do. You know, strap in, and if you can take it, you can. If not, just fuck off. So I love that
Oh,
attitude.
people who were like, missed the first day of the show or the festival or whatever, they were showing up like bushy-eyed and just ready to go. And then there's the Ween crowd at noon, and
Yeah,
people are like, "What the fuck is this
yeah,
band?" And it got better. Of course, they played some
yeah,
classier joints there, but after that, who knows? It's also a blur. I remember highlights. Let's just leave it at that.
yeah. How many shows have you been to over the years?
We tried to count them up the last shows we went to. We tried to count them up, and I think I'm somewhere in the neighborhood of 22 shows
Oh
at
shit.
this point. And of course, some of those are 3-day runs. Some of those are, so those add up quick. But I've seen quite a bit of live Ween over the years.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, coming down from Canada, I have to kind of cherry pick what I want to do because otherwise it's gonna,
Good.
it gets pretty costly for me. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did the Nashville one. I think it was last year. I don't know. Time gets kind of distorted right now, but
Right.
went down to Nashville. I did the reunion shows, and I've done some like when they're in Seattle and Portland and stuff like that. So I was hoping to get to a few more this year. I was also supposed to have a wedding this year, but that's kind of got canceled. And yeah, I don't know when I'm going to be able to see them again. It kind of sucks. So
Yeah, there's the October 4th weekend shows, the Vegas 3-day run. I think I mentioned it in your comments before
yeah,
things went awry here. But that's still on as of right now.
yeah,
And
the
so
Vegas
a
is
friend
on.
of
So
mine
yeah,
and I, we've got our fingers crossed. I don't think it's going to happen. If they are watching this channel and spying on us, then please, boys, please
yeah,
give
geez,
us 3
please,
nights before election day. Give us 3.
yeah. And I mean, I guess you can drive there. You don't need to fly, right? Or would you
Um,
fly?
we'll be flying, but you could drive. It's about a
Yeah,
10-hour drive to Vegas. And then, of course, there was supposed to be, I mean, maybe this is why I've seen so much live Ween is because they're always in my backyard. Of
yeah,
course, they were going to do the Dillon Amphitheater this summer for a couple of nights as well. And that's about an hour and a half from me.
yeah,
Um, and that got canceled, unfortunately, and put out until next year. But we're just hoping for October 4th, man. That's really like
yeah.
if I need a second reason to live, that's it right there.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice to have like, especially with me traveling, like that was always something that I kind of planned forward to, and I'd do 2 or 3 a year, so I always had something to kind of look forward to. And now there's fucking nothing, man. But
That was heart-wrenching. It
yeah,
was supposed to be right there at the beginning of COVID, and right at the last minute they canceled it, and we were all just like, "Well, fuck," and we had no idea what we were getting into here now, 4 or 5 months into this whole thing. But
yeah,
we're hoping, we're praying that we can get a control here and see them in Vegas.
Yeah. Have you been able to do a lot of your music stuff with? Have you had any time off or anything like that? Or
Yeah, I've been working from home
yeah,
and definitely playing music. Unfortunately, we've got different circumstances with everybody's, family and high
yeah,
risk, so to speak, young children. So we've been kind of broken up and kind of been playing around with other people who maybe aren't as precautious. But for right now,
yeah,
it's just really close friends that I know that are working from home and also and being really safe. And
yeah,
we got a little jam scheduled for later this week.
cool.
Hopefully, get some tunes in. But other than that, it's just been kind of hit or miss, and just a lot of self work for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm by no means John Bonham.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're watching this video like in 5 years or 10 years, we're in the midst of COVID. But anyways, I don't want to talk anymore about the COVID situation. But yeah, I mean, hopefully maybe Dean and Gene are using some of this time to maybe put some work in on getting some new songs. What do you think the likelihood of them ever cranking out another album is?
I mean, optimistically speaking, hopefully, uh, really good. I hope those chances are really good because that would be unbelievable to keep
Yeah.
this thing going. I'd like to think that they're not done and we're not just going to hear the end of Ween as we know it. But,
Yeah.
uh, who knows what they're doing either. I mean, I'm sure Diener's out there fishing,
Yeah.
and
Well,
I'd love to maybe do that one day. That'd be
yeah.
so cool.
Oh, that would be sweet to go out there. And I think don't they say on the, in like, I was reading a forum, they're like, the only rule on the trip is you're not allowed to talk about Ween. If he wants to talk about Ween, he will talk about Ween, but don't fucking
Right.
ask him about Ween because he's there to fish. Right. So
Yeah,
I'd love
totally.
to. Yeah.
My really good friend and I, we're fishermen as well, and we're
Yeah.
thinking like, what would we do? Would we pretend like we don't even know the fucking guy plays in a
Yeah.
band and just like two couple assholes in from Colorado take us fishing? You were the only guy available,
Yeah. To go on
or like,
the most random fishing charter. Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
it's like whatever. Or would we just fucking not be able to control ourselves and just be like, hey man, do you think you could play a couple of licks or something? Right? Like be an asshole about it. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
that would be super cool one day to maybe get to do that because I know
Yeah.
Diener's in Colorado a lot. He opened up that Honey Pot Lounge, which
Is it,
was
is
the
that still
first
going?
weed-friendly venue.
Yeah. Did he get out of that? Or I heard, like, I remember on one of the forums somebody was saying it was like the business side of it went a little sideways or something like that. I don't know who, I mean, who,
Oh,
yes, weed dealers, right? But
I have no idea. I have no idea what happened
yeah.
with that. I know he was involved at the beginning,
Yeah.
and I've seen him at some really small venues in like Boulder and stuff.
Nice.
So I know that he likes Colorado. If he was going to open up a business here, but nevertheless, that'd be news to me. But I don't doubt it. Like, it's a crazy world.
Yeah, man. I would really like to get down. I've got my fiance, she's got a lot of family in Baltimore and Pennsylvania and on the east side there. And one of those times when we go down to visit them, eventually I want to go see one of the open jams that he does down there if he starts that up again.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome too.
at John and
Yeah.
Peters, man. That's like the mecca for
Yeah.
Ween.
Yeah, and it's just you just see him like like I go to bars all the time. I play in bar bands, right? So it's just he'd
Yeah.
just be a guy in there playing away. So yeah, I'd love to do that. Moving along here, Ween show stories. Is there any particular show stories that you can think of that stick out? Like anything that you saw that was just like, what the fuck was that? Because I definitely got a few of those kicking around. So
I got a couple, man. They involve really good people that you meet at Ween shows. Probably one of my favorite people to run into at a show is the Puppet Lady, as she's affectionately known
Puppet
as.
Lady.
And I don't know if you've ever seen her,
No,
but
I have not.
she was definitely in Atlanta and definitely at the 3 show run here last Halloween.
Yep.
And she carries around these 2 puppets that are like a shade better than Muppets, but
Yeah.
not exactly
Yeah.
ventriloquist dolls.
Yeah.
And she's just super cool. She's always a good vibe at the shows. She's one of my favorite people. As far as Ween stories go, I don't want to incriminate anybody, but
No,
good
yeah,
Lord.
no. Names and identities will be changed to protect the the freedoms of the individuals. Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's kind of like you said. I've never had a bad experience. Let's
Yeah.
highlight that instead of trying to get into the
Yeah. Oh
closet of
no.
skeletons.
No.
Um,
No. Yeah.
I've never seen a fight at a Ween show. I've never seen people pushing or shoving or moshing or being otherwise unsafe with other people. And
Yeah.
I think that's a highlight for me more than just any one incident of debauchery or something like that. Just
Yeah.
the overall vibe. Everyone's super respectful, and I think we're all there for the same reason, the
Yeah.
same reason we all should be there, and that's the music.
Yeah, man.
You know, no one's trying to be a prick, and that's very unique. I've seen a lot of shit. I've seen people, you know, go over the line with drugs at shows of
Dude,
bands.
I
Not
saw
even Ween, you
I
know?
saw a fist fight at a bare naked ladies concert. So
Right.
Ween
There
is
you
doing
go.
something right. If people are getting into fisticuffs during if I had $1 million, then there's a problem there. So yeah.
Yeah, man. No one's trying to fight, and it's like I think a lot of that that mob mentality at a Ween show isn't there.
Yeah.
No one's trying to be bigger or better than anything, because we're all here just for the music, and that's really something that's unique to me.
Yeah.
Because you know, I've seen rap concerts, I've seen Metallica shows, I've seen a lot of different kinds of live music, but nothing compares to the scene at a Ween show for sure.
No, I mean people just collectively get in their faces, melted off, or singing along. Like when I was down in Nashville they did the 12 Golden Country
Yeah.
Greats, and there's
Yep.
like wooden bench. Were you at that one or?
No, I was at the
Yeah.
Atlanta shows right after it, so there was
Yeah.
still a big buzz going on from that
Well,
venue.
night one, I mean, it's the place where they did the Grand Old Opry. It's the Ryman Auditorium. That's what's called, and it's like wooden benches, and you feel like you're in 1952 when you're in there. They don't change anything, which is awesome, right? Like Johnny Cash played there. I think Elvis, like anybody from 50s rock and roll and 50s country and stuff. And you're in there, and like I remember at the end of the show, you know, they go off and people are yelling encore, but everybody's slapping on these wooden seats, and the whole fucking building was like just absolutely rumbling. And I think even Jeter came out and he's like, we were just standing back there listening to that, and he was like, we'll never forget that. It was fucking awesome, man. But I think you're right. Rather than getting into like drug stories and stuff like that, something like that's more memorable. And I think that's the real point of all this. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be people who are melted, and it doesn't matter if Ween's on stage with their influence or not, or it's Fish or any of these other popular jam bands.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, I also kind of feel like at a Ween show, people are looking out for each other. You know,
Yeah.
if someone's a little bit over the line, and I think that goes for other bands too. But I've seen a few people get a few tokes over the line at Ween shows, and everyone's kind of like, "Is she okay? Is he okay? You know, let's get them to the nearest first aid or what have you, glass of orange juice or something." And you know, that's a good thing.
Yeah, man. At the second night at the Ryman, I came back to my hotel room. I was like in the dingiest fucking hotel room in Nashville, man. Like the windows didn't open, and if I took a shower, it turned into like a steam closet, and people were having parties in the alcoves at like 3 a.m. And these weren't even Ween fans. This is just like dingy hotel stuff. But anyways, I took off my shirt at the end of the night, and whoever was sitting behind me, they pinned like 2 pins onto my shirt, and I didn't even fucking notice. And I got 2 pins.
Sweet.
I can't remember where they are, but yeah, that was good experience. Now we have to get into a very serious topic here.
Okay, I'm ready.
You ready? Why should I like Demon Sweat?
Okay. This goes back to a comment I left from the previous episode for those who are catching this.
Tell me why Demon Sweat's a masterpiece, but keep in mind that I haven't seen it live. So like we're talking just off the album.
I mean, for me, it's not a mockery by any means. I don't mean to say that they're mocking Phil Collins, but to me,
how could anyone
the opening
do that?
of that song, the synth going, and the way that the drums kind of build in that song, to me, just give me that Phil Collins vibe, that late 80s vibe, that like shit is going down in this song, whether or not you're listening along with the lyrics. Like the emotion that Diener and Jeter are putting in there is, to me, it's one of their more unique songs. Would you agree there?
I would, for sure. And I would really, in all fairness, I'd really like to see it played live, because that can change my opinion of a lot of songs, right? Like I never listened to a lot of Shinola, and at their reunion they played Did You See Me, and I was like fucking melted. Like I was like, whoa, fuck, that's a fucking killer song, man. Like some bands, if that was their best song and the only song I like, that would be enough to keep me interested forever. But yeah. Yeah, anyways, go on.
Well, and it went back to the episode before this, man, when you were talking about the love songs, and you went from the scale of like 1 to 10. And I mean, when he says, I'm in a blanket and I'm feeling wet, you can just see him. You know, if you're picturing Papa Jeter,
Yeah.
in a wet, dewy blanket, just busted up and completely wrecked over some love issue in his life. It
Yeah.
just resonates with me that he went that far.
Yeah.
And then the breakdown. Come on, with the way that guitar solo rips off is impressive. And maybe that's something that you'll maybe
Yeah.
inherit the same perspective of me when you see it live. But it's an amazing song to me. But then again, we're talking about our favorite band here. So I'm
Yeah,
into a
for
lot of
sure.
the weird shit.
Yeah.
And their more bizarre stuff, to go back to my comment, which sparked this whole interview, is
Yeah.
I really enjoy the weirdest shit that they do. Maybe
Yeah.
not the fuck song, but the weirder shit to me is the best shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's like the point of that list that I made up was, again, to be a little bit divisive and to make some conversation. And I mean, I can't see somebody doing a thing like this for the Goo Goo Dolls or something like that. And that speaks just
Right,
to the
of
breadth
course.
of material that they have, right? And there's just the little peaks and valleys that you can get into. So that was a fun episode because people were chiming in, and yeah, this has been a fun thing to do, man. Just a couple more questions before we get out of here. I gotta go play tennis with the fucking lady. She's gonna mop the floor with me because I'm a bit hungover. But in any event, in terms of their solo albums, what's your favorite Jeaner solo album?
Oh, Jeaner solo album. I don't even know. I don't spend a lot of time with either of them individually.
Yeah.
I have seen them both individually,
Yeah.
with Dean the most.
Did you like the Freeman album?
I did like the Freeman album. I guess
Yeah.
that's, a good way of leading me on to a more definitive answer here.
Yeah.
I would go with that. I would go with that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably the one I've listened to the most.
Yeah.
But there's something about them together. Not that they're bad. By no means are they bad. Let me clean that up
Yep.
right now. But there's so much relationship there. And I think going back to middle school and growing up together, hating each other, loving each other, fighting with each other, being accepted as a pair of two guys,
Yep.
who have taken on these monikers, that there's something missing when they're not together. That's what I'll say, and I love when Diener and those guys, the Dean Ween Project, cover some Ween stuff, but without Gene on the microphone, it's only so good,
Yeah. And then part of me wonders if that's something that we have, or if it's actually a physical thing between them, right? Like if it's a failure to meet our expectations when we see them apart, or if it's like, if there's actually something. I mean, there's obviously something there between the two of them.
Sure.
But I really liked that Freeman album, and I went and saw him in Seattle. He played at like a tiny kind of country bar kind of place.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a great band, and it was like I was 10 feet away from him. He was chilled out. The vibe was a lot more chilled than a Ween show. It was kind of just like going to see a local show or something like that. It was fucking great. But I also like
I had the same experience at a Dean Ween group, where you could walk to the bar and back to the front of the stage in less than 10 minutes. And, Diener's right there. I could probably grab his foot if I wanted to get thrown out.
Yep.
And it was a different vibe, a great vibe. It was amazing to see him up close, that personal. But again, nothing compares to seeing them together for me. Maybe the Moist Boy stuff is pretty good. I can jam with some of that. But just a Ween junkie, Boognish follower.
Thus, here we are, man, too, on the internet. But shit, man. But anyways, I'm gonna probably keep it to about a half an hour, just for the sake of people listening. But man, very good to talk to you, and very, very nice to meet you online here. And thanks for commenting on the videos and stuff like that. And anytime you want to fucking chime in, let me know, man.
I will. I'll be in the comments and I'll be watching the channel. And it's been my pleasure to come on and bullshit with you about the Boognish, man.
And if you're out there watching this and you want to come on, man, I have nothing better to do. So just hit me up and we can get in touch. You have to have Zoom technology in order to do this, but I don't think that's a problem for anybody. But Nick, man, thank you so much, man. I'm going to fucking extend a little high five there. Thanks,
buddy.
man. And take care of yourself. And we'll talk again soon, I hope.
See all you Richard smokers later.
Yeah, later.